Welcome to the Tom Bernard Podcast, the family with
co-host Catherine Brandt,
Alex Bernard Rasmussen,
Andy Bernard,
and Kristen Burt.
Kristen Burt. Entertainment news brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Now, Kristen, she doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I'm going to reveal something about Catherine that I just before I left the house to come here.
I just love giving you ammo.
No, it's not ammo. It's a great thing.
Oh,
It's a great, and Kristen being the living the life that she does, I'm sure she's been through it too.
oh okay.
That's all I'm
Just through
saying.
It. It's just
So
trials and tribulations.
when I met Catherine Brandt, I was working for Capitol Records. I was the Midwest, middle of the country, whatever the hell I was. Let's get up on stage and play and then shut up. I was that guy. I just got this magnificent memory. And I think you were about maybe 23 or 24 when this happened.
Okay.
So I get a call that I have to go over to the Guthrie Theater because one of my acts is playing over at the Guthrie Theater, and went backstage. And Catherine Brandt, face to face, met Ricky Nelson. I will never forget the look on your face.
You're trying to backpedal for all your Jane Fonda crushes.
Oh.
I get it. All
Jane
right.
Fonda. Jane.
Oh God, here we go. You just can't take a punch. That's all there is to it. Kristen, did you ever get? Well, he's been dead for a long time now.
Long time. I feel like I was
1985,
80.
Oh yeah.
before I was
I was
born.
a kid.
He was a very pretty man.
He was a very, even as a guy, I can say
Yeah,
he was,
he was
a very
pretty.
man.
He was very pretty.
And the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. So you were, would you say it was 80, 85 when he died?
I have no idea. Good
What
Lord,
had to
that's
be in the
so
early
long
80s.
ago.
So
It's
you
ancient
were,
history,
you were 23.
perhaps something like that.
And here comes Ricky Nelson.
26, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. You do the math.
Oh, that's right. You were born in
properly.
59. That's
Yep.
right. But in any case, so you're 26, 25, 24, 25.
I have no
26.
secrets, apparently.
But it just struck me because they were doing some, I don't know, some new show they're putting together about, the early days of rock and roll and blah, blah, blah. I got to work with him a number of times. Just the nicest man you'd ever want to meet. Just
Yeah. He was starting. He startled me. He was so pretty. I didn't.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
I knew who he was, and I've seen photos of him before. But he just had that. I don't know. He had the it factor or something.
so Kristen Burt. Catherine meets Ricky Nelson. I get to see him again. Just like I said, just a wonderful, very nice man, very talented.
Kind of
Six-
shy.
Kind of very shy, actually.
Mhm.
Absolutely true. 6 months later, Catherine and I are on a plane flying down to Florida. And it was reported that he died in a plane crash.
I know that was tragic.
Oh, God, it was horrible. You just met Ricky. I think you cursed him. You met
Oh,
Ricky
that
and then
was
he
me.
died.
Oh, okay.
It
I
was
didn't know I
your
was that
fault.
powerful.
A powerful man.
You better not cross me.
Why did so many musicians die in plane crashes for a
Oh,
while?
they-
There was
know,
like
you
there was like a
gotta-
50-year period where there was one every year.
You
that
gotta
was
wonder
weird.
their choices of pilots or something.
Yeah.
Or
Buddy
you know,
Holly,
Yeah.
Aaliyah. Even Aaliyah.
or
That was in the
Freddie.
early 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Dr. Dre.
2001. That's probably
Yeah.
one of the most recent ones, huh?
Did John Denver die in a plane crash?
Yep.
Yeah, but that was a airplane that he had crafted himself. Like he built it from a kit.
Not a
Oh,
good
probably
Yeah.
wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know his
wouldn't-
real name?
What?
Henry Deutschendorf.
Henry Deutschendorf. There
Pretty.
you go.
Not quite as folksy as
Henry-
John Denver.
John
is.
Denver.
Henry German?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
So, Kristen, let me say this. I wouldn't fly an airplane that I built.
Hmm.
I wouldn't ride a bicycle that I built.
God, no.
Right.
I'll be honest
I
with
mean,
you.
and Harrison Ford has had a couple close calls as pilot of his own plane.
Has
Who did?
he? Harrison
Mhm.
Ford.
Oh, he
Harrison
has,
Ford's a
yeah.
very big aviator.
Yeah.
I've
Oh.
heard.
He's had 2 close calls. One of them, I believe, landed like on the Santa Monica, not on the freeway, but on a busy street in Santa Monica.
Yikes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a story out there of like someone who was lost in like Yellowstone or something,
Mhm.
and he signaled a passing plane, and the plane landed, and out came Harrison Ford
Oh.
to rescue him.
Oh my God.
Because Harrison,
pretty
he
special.
would just fly around, and then he saw this guy, and apparently he's done it multiple times.
Well, we have a friend named Alan Miller who's had I think it's a World War II or World War I biplane.
I don't think it's a World War One.
It's very
I don't
old.
know. I don't know if they were they doing biplanes in World War II? I suppose they probably
I
were.
don't know. It's
I don't
really
know.
old. He flies that thing every single day, and I guess it's really hard to fly because it doesn't have any, power steering or whatever airplanes
Doesn't
do.
have any air conditioning.
No, it has nothing.
No Spotify,
Yeah.
no Android Auto.
No, it doesn't have any bells and whistles, so it's really hard to fly. And it's torqued on his shoulders many times. He's had to have shoulder
Ooh.
surgery just because of that.
That sounds scary. I did the
Wow,
I
you
flew
knew
the
it.
old Goodyear blimp, not the
Mhm.
current new one that they have, and it was manual pedals. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
sat next to the captain, and he was, steering with the foot pedals,
Wow.
and he was like this big, huge guy. We called him Captain Handsome because he was very handsome looking. But the rake that you go up is so steep, and I'm afraid of heights. I'm fine in an airplane because it's big and solid and everything, but going up in a blimp was just terrifying. I went up in 2011. I believe they transitioned to the newer blimps in 2012.
So they're better than the
Newer blimps.
Hindenburg. Good.
Yeah, I would
I'm
hope.
glad.
Yeah,
So when
sweating
you
even thinking about it.
Yeah.
got off the blimp, did you say, "Oh, the humanity"?
I said, "No, can I have a photo with you, Captain Handsome?"
No, there you go. Okay,
And I
that's
do
what
have
it
a
was.
photo with them.
Now, to show there's balance in the universe, I have to, like I said, I spent 8 years at Capitol, I think. That's about right, I think, somewhere in there. Ricky Nelson, one of the sweetest, nicest people you'd ever want to meet. Most handsome man I've ever seen. That is true. There's no question. He was. There's no doubt.
But he's no Jane Fonda.
Oh, no, you're not going to throw that in on me. Here we go. Because there is a balance to this story. So I just told you about one of the nicest people I ever worked with. Great guy, Ricky Nelson. Catherine met him. I don't know if you met the second one. The biggest asshole I ever had to work with was
Ooh.
Sharona from
My
the Nax
Sharona?
My Sharona.
My Sharona.
Oh, what an asshole that woman was. She was very special to herself. I will tell you that.
I
Wait,
do not
isn't it a
remember
guy
her.
that sings My Sharona?
Yeah, but she was the actual woman was there.
Oh, the actual My Sharona.
Yeah.
Oh.
Does anyone care about the actual My Sharona though?
Yeah, whatever happened to
I
Sharona?
don't even know. I didn't know that it was a real person.
Yeah, it was a real person.
Didn't either.
It's a
It
good
was a real-
song.
Well, she was at the show, so unless she
It'll-
wiped herself off the face of the earth.
That's one of
Well-
those songs that it's like a brain worm. You just can't
Earworm.
get rid of
It's a good song.
earworm.
Brain.
Whatever.
Oh,
Hopefully
Ricky,
it's
you're
not a
so
brain worm. Brain worm sounds uncomfortable.
Sharona Alperin was her name.
There you go.
And
Was
she
her
was
name?
17 and he was 25.
Yep. She was
Hi,
17 and he was
Sharona.
25.
Why
So
not?
where is she now, Andy? Where is she?
She
now?
is a Los Angeles realtor.
Oh,
Really?
So
huh.
being fantastic didn't work out for her that
No,
well.
I mean,
Okay.
a Los
Unless she's
Angeles
selling
realtor-
high-end real estate,
Yeah,
she
you
might
can
be.
make.
Oh, yeah.
You can make $300,000 a commission in Los
look at
Angeles.
Barbara
that's true.
Corcoran.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 if
that
you're
one's
you
got
can make a
of-
lot of money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if she's still like riding on her fame from the My Sharona song, she might do well. There are going to be
That's
some
true.
people that'll
True.
hire her just for that.
yeah,
Yep.
honestly.
She could. There's no doubt about it. What else you got cooking today,
No,
Kristen?
she
Burke?
owns mysharona.com.
My
There you go.
Sharona.
So
See,
there you
there you
go.
go.
So yeah,
I-
there you go.
I have a little footnote to yesterday's conversation about food dye bans. So
Okay.
one of your
Yeah.
listeners wrote in and gave us some really great information, which I thought was helpful to the conversation. But so Pat wrote in and just said she worked in the food industry for a long time.
Mhm.
And she said the reason why it takes so long is that there are some considerations. Food labels have to be approved by the government and the FDA. But it's not a quick process. So that's
Of course.
oftentimes weeks and months, of course.
Mhm.
Changing one ingredient can change your formula to your products. So that consideration is you have to be the consumers. Is it going to taste the same to them? Are they going to want to buy this?
Mhm.
So you have to discuss that before you make a change. And particularly if you have a contract with another company for that ingredient. And then manufacturing companies have contracts for their supplies that you have to look at it from not only an inventory standpoint, but a contractual standpoint. And then on top of all of that, California's food dye ban, which was signed September ahead of this current administration, gets rid of bans red dye number 40, yellow dye number 5, yellow dye number 6, blue dye number 1, blue dye number 2, and green dye number 3. It does not get fully enacted until December 31st, 2027. So that just tells you how long it takes.
Mhm.
Mm.
And it was my state assemblyman, who actually drafted the law. So there you go.
Look
I
at
know
that.
we buy like these alternative candy things. They're called Unreal.
Oh yeah.
They have
Unreal's great.
yeah, and they have an alternative for basically everything you can think of. They got Mounds, they got Snickers, that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
I do know that the M&Ms, because they use like beet juice and stuff for dye, you
Mhm.
can taste the difference for sure. So
Aldi doesn't use food dyes in this. So if you shop at Aldi, you don't
Mm.
have the food dyes.
Same with Trader Joe's.
Yeah. So
They
it's
use
kind of
food dye.
nice.
In their products. Okay.
Mm.
Oh,
well,
Yeah.
all of their
nice.
products are their products, right? I don't
Yeah.
think they have third-party products, or very few.
Trader Joe's does, and Aldi. I don't know if Aldi. They occasionally they'll have a couple. Like they still have like certain drink
Yeah.
things, but I think
I was
but
gonna
if you're
say,
getting
you
their
can get,
food
like,
products,
You can get like Health Aid kombucha at Trader Joe's, but like
yeah,
95% of the stuff is theirs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, isn't Aldi the brother of Trader Joe's?
Yeah.
they are. Yeah,
I thought,
It's
yeah.
like the discount
Oh.
sibling.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so if you're looking for that, just that was some good information. I thought so.
Aldi
Thought
was
I'd
one of
pass
the
it
only
along.
places I could find toilet paper during COVID.
Oh, that's right.
Huh.
Yeah.
And it wasn't good toilet paper.
Oh, yeah.
A little bark involved.
It was, yeah.
That's
It was
always
a little thin.
All right, why don't we take a break here, ladies and gentlemen? Kristen Bird, Entertainment News, brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. We'll be right back in a couple minutes. More with Kristen Burt right after this. From Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. What's up, Allie?
Oh, not much. Doing my usual thing of telling people they shouldn't be texting and driving. In Minnesota, you can't have your phone in your hands. You can use, hands-free, but you can't have your phone in your hand for whatever reason. And that's why they made the law the way they did, so that police officers could see a phone in your hand and you got no excuse for why you got it there.
Do people know that that's the law?
I hope so. I mean, they used to follow it, and then kind of COVID kind of made people forget. And now it's like a freewheeling world out there with cell phones.
Let's say you get pulled over because you do have a phone in your hand and you're not watching where you're going. You got to be in pretty big trouble then, I would guess.
Well, the first one's not as bad. It's the multiple ones, the problem. And once people start stacking them up, then they have a big problem. And then what we're doing in car accidents is we've started bringing motions for punitive damages, because I'm trying to use the civil law any way we can to stop this, because it needs to stop.
Whenever I'd had any problems in my life, who was that I called again? It was like an MB, something like that.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I love talking about Jack's. You know that, Billy's my buddy. Family owned since 1933, an original Minneapolis steakhouse, a place to celebrate, create memories for over 90 years. It certainly has for us, no doubt about it. Just minutes from Target Field for a pre or post-game meal, perfect prime rib. Matter of fact, it's the only place I eat prime rib. I didn't even realize that till just now. Serving steaks, chops, and fresh food, you could even net your own trout from Jack's Garden Stream and have it prepared for you minutes later. You can enjoy happy hour in a bar or on award-winning patio on Wednesday through Sunday. Private party rooms, 25 to 275 people, perfect for weddings, groom's dinner, business dinners, all celebrations. Every time I read that, I think of Sid Hartman, because we used to have the gopher meetings up there. Weekend brunch Saturday and Sunday. Jack's the godfather of Northeast. And I know I did say Northeast, and it's actually, you got to say it Northeast. They don't like it when you
Northeast,
say
yeah.
Northeast.
They want to get it right.
That's true. Don't say Northeast. It's Northeast. It's like, okay, you got it. Kristen Burt back with us, ladies and gentlemen. What's the latest?
This is interesting. And Alex, I don't know if you watched this last season, but did you watch on Netflix the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders
No.
series, docuseries? Really well done, just because
Yes.
it gave you an insight, because that team has been notorious for dictating what you look like and how you behave for years and
Ooh.
years for very little money.
Yes.
And after the first season, there was a lot of pushback on the pay. And Charlotte Jones, who is the daughter of Jerry Jones, she kind of runs the talents portion of Dallas
right.
Cowboy Cheerleaders, the team. She said, the girls, they call them girls, they don't call them women. The girls they don't come here for the money. It's about being part of something bigger than themselves. And people are like, well, we're watching this docuseries. Why are these women working 40-hour jobs in order to support their dream of dancing? Because that's really what they want to do, and they're like, well, we're so proud. We've got nurses and we've got lawyers. And it didn't resonate. Like, it was kind of falling on the wrong ears. Let's put it that way. So you're taking a look at this. So they managed for season 2, which comes out today on Netflix. They managed to up it to $500 a game, but I guess they talk a little bit more about pay and they're a little bit more transparent about it. The veterans pushed back on the team and renegotiated their contract so that for this coming fall season, 25-26, they're getting a 400% pay increase.
Ooh.
Good. It's
Whoa.
about time.
Well,
About
it's
time.
like nothing. Yeah.
So that's so great for them because they are rehearsing about 3 times a week. Plus they have appearances. Plus they do a huge
Tons of
Christmas show.
appearances.
Plus they do NFL.
And they have to
So
look a certain way. And
you have to look a certain way. You have to keep your weight in check. Like there's a
have your
lot of
hair
pressure.
done at the same place as everybody else.
Yep.
The way they want it, not
Yeah,
necessarily the way
they
you want it.
Yes.
So I'm glad to hear that they will now be earning 6 figures this upcoming season.
Oh, that's good. That'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see if it, because I know obviously the Dallas cheerleaders are like top tier as far as NFL cheerleaders
Yes,
go. Like they're
absolutely.
the biggest time of all the cheerleaders. But I had a friend that was an Eagles cheerleader, and yeah, like same thing. All of them had to have full-time jobs, but then they had to like take time off to go to Costa Rica for photo shoots and like all these things. And
Yeah.
Yeah. And the a lot of the donors, the boosters, as they call them for the football team, they used to get really handsy with some of the girls back in the day. They now make any fan that poses with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders hold a football so that something is happening with their hands so they cannot touch the women.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. It's
You
a
know,
great distraction.
How
Yeah.
things have come around. I have a friend who was a Vikings cheerleader back early days, and she was a student at a high school. Park High provided the cheerleaders for the Vikings
Right.
games
Yeah, they did.
originally. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. She was a cheerleader for that high
Wild.
school, and they were also cheerleaders for the Vikings early days.
yeah, some
Isn't
of
that
the-
funny? Your voice.
Oh my
Her jaws dropped. Yeah, they didn't. I don't even know if they paid him anything.
They didn't. No. Are you
Probably
talking
not.
about our buddy's wife?
No, Laura Jacobson.
Well,
She
you
was
know,
a cheerleader.
Sandy's wife was too.
Yeah.
She was dance line, wasn't she? Or was she
No,
a
she was a
cheerleader?
Vikings cheerleader.
Yeah,
don't have a-
but she
they don't
was.
have a
She was
dance
way
line.
later than this.
Oh, she was. Okay.
Yeah, because Laura is like what 71. So when she was in high school, we're talking many.
I like how
Cool.
you get
Years
all
ago.
weird about me saying your age in '85, and now you're like my old friend who was a cheerleader a
I mean-
million years ago.
I don't mean old. I meant old like I've known her for a long time, not
My longtime friend, yes.
There you go.
long
There we
time
go.
friend.
My best bud, my
Anyway,
BFF.
yeah, that's how it was back in the day. Weird.
Yeah, they
She
didn't pay him
loved it.
anything.
She thought it was so much fun.
Well, I'm
they
sure it
didn't-
was a
they
blast
didn't-
when you're a high school student going to Vikings games.
Yeah. Well, they
Yeah.
basically just did the same routines that they did in high school. It
Yeah.
was nothing fancy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some high school dance teams are
Oh yeah.
incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they become the pipeline to NCAA into professional cheer. And I think that's why I'm glad it's being recognized as not just like this little hobby that women do. And, people would always push back, well, they're not athletes. I'm like, if they're expected to maintain, their the kick line, do you see what they do? They
Yes.
do their kick line and jump into a split. I'm like, that's an athlete. The average person can't do that. And they're like, well, they shouldn't earn as much as the players. And I don't think anyone has ever asked them to earn $20 million a year.
Definitely not.
But
It's like a
I
livable
do.
wage.
They are a draw to the team, and they deserve a livable wage, and they deserve one that's not just like $15 an hour for rehearsal. I just think that they've put a lot of money and hours into their training too.
You know that
Absolutely.
we've reached a new height for athletes being paid or not being paid. There's a player, very, very famous NBA player, was just offered a position for $50 million a year and turned it down.
Who?
Look it up.
You don't know.
Oh, yeah,
What's their name again?
Boring as hell to me.
Let's see.
Andy.
Well,
Is
I mean,
this true?
Oh, there are several players who earn over $50 million.
I
a year.
know, isn't that amazing?
Well,
That's
and the
amazing.
whole-
Who turned it down?
Stephen.
Stephen Curry was the first he's going to be the first NBA player to eclipse $60 million.
Steph. It's Steph.
Steph Curry.
Whatever.
Steph Curry.
Already having surpassed 50 million in this season. So
Wow.
But he didn't
yeah.
turn it down.
Who turned it down?
Yeah, who's
What's
anybody,
his face? Whose kid's a basketball player too.
LeBron James.
LeBron James, yeah.
He turned down 50 million.
50 million.
For what? Were they going to trade him? Like
I
what?
don't know what they were going to do.
I mean,
Because he's like,
James Harden turned down $50 million a year in 2020. So
God.
Is anyone watching basketball? They must be.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Well,
Yes,
the
it's kind of
NBA
huge right now.
finals are happening right now.
Huh.
Who's playing? I don't even know.
The Pacers and
The Oilers.
Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oklahoma
Okay.
I'll believe it when
That's
they start
what-
putting out movies upon movies like Hoop Dreams and Like Mike.
Yeah, there you go.
Hoop Dreams is a great documentary.
Is
You
it?
know what's a really
Oh.
good basketball movie?
Space Jam.
Space Jam.
Yeah, there
The
you go.
original.
the
Jam.
one with Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Yes.
What?
Oh my gosh, Dan and I watched it and we both loved it. Kevin Love was in it.
Hustle?
Hustle.
Oh, it's new.
Yeah.
It's 2022.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
you.
If you don't, even if you don't like basketball, you would like this movie. Adam Sandler is so good in it. It's a
Which means
great-
it's on Netflix.
Yes, I'm sure it's
'Cause
on
he's got-
Netflix.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Distributed
well,
by Netflix.
highly recommend.
Adam Sandler has a exclusive deal with Netflix. All of his films just go directly
Oh.
to Netflix. So that's why Happy Gilmore 2 will come out on Netflix this summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
Here's another like really fun little tidbit for Hollywood. Kelsey Grammer is going to have another baby.
Oh,
This is
God.
number 8.
79.
He's
I'm sorry.
70.
yeah, he
His
just turned
wife
70.
his wife is 46.
Yikes.
And this is baby number 4 for them. So he's got 8
Right.
kids, 4 wives.
Well, that's
8 kids.
Is
and 4
she
Good for-
pregnant or are they
She
having
is pregnant.
Sure.
They Daily Mail caught them running around London, and there is a clear baby bump with her.
So this would
So
be Kate Walsh.
Kate Walsh, yes.
Kate
That was the
Walsh.
flight attendant. If anyone follows reality show gossip history that he was having the affair with, while Camille Grammer, his third wife, was starring on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And he's like, I thought, Camille needed something to do. So I thought, do this reality show. Well, he was like keeping her busy with filming, and he was off, gallivanting with I think she was in her 20s at the time too. So she was much younger.
Wasn't he kind of canceled for a while? Didn't he do something?
Yeah, he's just generally creepy and awful.
Apparently.
Is he's
That's too
He's
bad.
had a very tragic life. His sister was murdered, and like
And I
he's
think
had
his
a
brother
really
killed himself, or his mom killed herself, or
Yeah.
something. We've
He's
talked
had
about
a-
this on the show before. Basically everyone in his family died tragically. It's like,
Jeez.
Yeah, he's had a very and that he's had his own issues with substance abuse for
That's
many
what it was,
years.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he had a meltdown somewhere or something.
yep.
yeah.
Yeah, he sure was good in Frasier. Frasier was a very funny show.
Yeah, it was a really good show.
And
He was
Cheers.
good on Cheers.
Yeah.
I interviewed him at the 2011 Tonys, and Kate was there, his wife, his now wife, and he's a little creepy. He's a little lecherous, if I can say. Like he leans into you while he's interviewing you, and I'm like, your wife is right there, and I feel like you're being a little flirty, and it's uncomfortable.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
I don't
not
like that.
great.
Have you ever seen that lineup of like the Cheers cast sitting at the bar and then it says their ages above them?
No.
It's
They're all 70 billion.
crazy.
Mischke's
No,
here.
they are all quite young
Oh, you mean like when it was on?
when it was
We
on.
haven't.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they were in like their 30s and stuff, and you thought they were in their 50s.
Yes, they all look so old and they're
They
like in
do.
their
They're all very
30s and early
Yeah.
40s. You're like, I would have said that they were, 50s.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Well, he Kelsey's youngest, once he has the newborn, but right now his youngest is 8 and his oldest daughter is 41. I mean, what an age range.
They're not even
Ugh.
siblings at that point.
No,
they're
you're
No, they're not.
You're
Yeah.
just like, this is some kid my dad had.
And
Yep,
his
exactly.
older kids, Greer and Spencer, who are both actresses, have both said that their father was not around when they were growing up because it was kind of at the height of his Cheers and Frasier fame. And they were just like,
right.
grew up without their dad.
What are you gonna do?
Doesn't Tony Randall have a bunch of kids and he's 100?
Well,
I
Tony
don't
Randall
know.
has passed.
Tony Randall has 2.
Oh, I
So-
thought, but didn't he have one like, really in his elder
He
years?
I think
did.
that's true.
He
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
As did Larry King. He was
Mm.
very old when he had his 2 young sons.
Let's see. When was
I don't
Tony
know.
Randall's kid born? Because he
Okay.
died in 2004 at the age of 84.
Yeah.
I kind of think if you're going to be going into diapers while your kid's going out of diapers, it's
Yeah.
probably not the greatest.
He was a
situation.
bachelor for most of his years.
Exactly.
Yeah, they
I
had
mean,
one
was
kid. Let's see.
Tony
The
Randall
kids were
maybe
born in 97 and 98. So he would have been 57 and 58.
yeah.
So not quite 70, but
Yeah.
still probably too old.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're
I
not
don't
gonna-
like it.
No.
I was thinking I was 37 when Alex was born.
Something like
Were you that
About
old?
right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That old.
Were
Yeah, you
that
had just
old?
turned 37.
Yeah,
'cause,
you had just turned 37.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
89.
I have friends that we're in our mid 30s, mid to late 30s. So my friends are a little bit older than me, and I have one friend that's pregnant right now, and she's a year older than me, and she's like, "This is horrible. I'm 1,000 years old. Why am I doing this?" And I'm like, I don't know. It sounds awful to be like.
It's pretty common though to see, like Los Angeles and New York, it's really common to see first-time moms in their early 40s out here.
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't know about that.
I don't.
Well, when I moved to Minneapolis, I was so shocked at how young everyone was having kids. I was like,
Mhm.
whoa, my friends are just starting to get married and everyone's like 21 having kids. So I think it really just depends on the culture of the state, the city, the area
Yeah.
of the country. It
Well,
really does change
Considering the
things.
film industry, the women have to stay all pristine
Yeah.
Yeah.
if they're going to
New
be
York, it's very
Yeah.
career driven. Chicago, even, I would say,
Sure.
a little bit older.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's all true. Kristen, when you lived here, did you ever work with Tommy Mischke?
I did not.
You never did?
Mm-mm.
Mischke, you never worked with Kristen Burt?
Anybody who worked with me wouldn't admit it or left quickly. Talk to Carrie Miller.
Carrie Miller, I remember that name, but
Isn't she the one who moved over from KSTP to NPR doing the morning show?
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, when Vogel and I worked with her, we'd try to have a little fun with bottom of the hour news, and she wanted nothing to do with playing around. She was in a serious world, we were in a silly world, and never the twain shall meet. So I didn't find people wanted to work with me much. I've been a loner most of my career. I haven't had even so much as an on-air person to talk to.
You never have.
No.
That's amazing.
No.
I used to, Kristen, how many years ago did you leave that show in 1500?
At 1500 was the end of 2008.
God, that was that long ago, 17 years ago? Good God. But I used to listen to Mischke all the time. I found your show very, very interesting. It was totally different than anybody else's show, which is a good thing in radio.
Particularly at that station by the end. I mean, when I
Wow.
started, it was more like what I did. You had people like Vogel and you had
Mhm.
Bob Yates in the morning, and you
Yep.
had people who were basically entertainers. And then it went very, very political. And at the end,
It did.
I was
Yeah.
the lone guy who wasn't doing politics. I was
Mhm.
it.
That was it. Christine, why do you have to leave already? You shouldn't have to leave.
I know. I got to go and write an article though, you know?
All
You know
right.
how it is.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I will see you all tomorrow.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Kristen Burt Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. We'll take a break. Be right back. Tommy Mischke, legendary radio personality. Legendary. It's all true. We'll be right back right after this. Let me tell you about my bank. That'd be North American Banking Company. When it comes to banking, it's all about trust. That's what you get with them. They've been around since 1998. They've always made it clear they're here to give you a better banking experience with a focus on the local community. And you won't be dealing with some AI chatbot. You'll get straight answers and quick decisions from real people that know you and your situation and are always ready to help. So if you're tired of the big national banks, want something better, stop by and see my friends at North American Banking Company. Visit nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Many car dealers try to create an extreme sense of urgency. Does anybody really buy it?
We gotta sell 100 cars by Saturday to get the boss off the roof. You'll never see these rebates again. And oh yeah, your trade will never be worth more.
Really? I asked Jim Paul from Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley and Valley GMC in Hastings his thoughts.
I don't even know what to say. I hope folks are smarter than that.
Has there really ever been a time when it was urgent?
Probably not, but this tariff environment might be a first. Valley has several hundred pre-tariff units on the ground. Who knows what's going to happen with the tariffs, but these are really safe buys. Going forward, Valley's committed to make whatever the situation is as painless as possible, like we've always done.
Where can we find you then?
Get them pre-tariff. Hurry, hurry, hurry. When they're gone, they're gone. And man,
At a Valley store in Apple Valley or Hastings or valleycardealers.com. Certainly not on a roof.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the Twin Cities Savers online summer auction starts tomorrow. Not tomorrow. I keep thinking it's Thursday today. I don't know why that is, but it is Friday the 20th. It ends Thursday, June 26th. You can visit scorenorth.com right there. Enter keyword auction to view and bid on items. Save up to 70% off retail prices. Tens of thousands of dollars in items up for grabs. Zero-turn lawnmower, string trimmer, leaf blower, tri-state bobcat, electric bikes, generator, a 40-foot shipping container. Ooh, I wonder what you use that for. Family getaways to Camp Dells, private golf lessons to up your game, aquatic weed removal, and more. Here's the deal. Visit scorenorth.com and enter keyword auction to view, bid, and win. Click it, bid it, and win it. Why pay full price when you can save up to 70%? Thank you. Thank you very much. Ooh, he's playing special music. It came in nice and easy.
Rainy music for the rainy season, apparently.
Was it rainy? Well, it's pretty nice when I got here today.
Yeah, it hasn't been rainy today, but it's just been like generally wet. Ethan can't go outside. Well, I mean, he can, but he just gets soaked and comes inside.
It really is unbelievable. So, Tommy, I understand you're back.
Isn't that funny? Back.
Yeah, back.
That's the way people talk about it. But where was I? Wasn't I?
Where have you been for 10 years?
I mean, on a computer, isn't it
10 years?
just wherever you shift the thing to? I mean, where's back? I was doing a podcast, and then I'm doing a podcast now, but you have to hit a different little button.
Yep.
But the number of people who say, "Hey, welcome back. Hey, glad you're back. Hey, you're back." It's a weird thing. I mean, are you back when you start your podcast here with your family?
I suppose that because it was kind of a rocky exit at KQRS after 37 years.
They're supposed to be rocky.
Well,
yeah,
they're lucky it wasn't rockier. If you know what I mean.
It's designed to be rocky, that's for sure.
They were major league a-holes.
Unbelievable. Does it kind of break your heart that radio is just coming apart at the seams?
You know, it breaks the heart of a lot of people who talk to me because they talk nostalgically about the days when we were in our heyday and when you were in your heyday on radio. But of course that's going to end. I mean, of course 8 tracks are going to disappear.
Yes, exactly.
It's all going away.
It is.
And what I always tell people is what hasn't changed and never changes is there's a speaker and there's a voice coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares how it got there?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Now, in your case, there might be more to lament because you had a more classic radio thing where it was morning drive. It was a crew of people, but I've always been just a voice talking into a microphone, whether it's a closet to myself or whether 5 people are listening, really has never changed.
Yeah, it's a different. I just wish people would know, and we're being told that the Minneapolis-St. Paul radio market was the highest rated radio market in America at one time.
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to get a sense of this. So when you were at your absolute peak, and Cannon was at his absolute peak, were those 2 ratings higher than you would have found in any major market in the Twin Cities? Correct. So percentage of people listening would have been the highest.
We had a 40 share, and he had, I think, like a 32.
Yeah. So, and there was no such thing as that. And what's weird is they used to talk about WCCO being particularly unique as a station.
No question. Yep.
But with KQ, I don't believe it was the station. It was just you, right? It wasn't.
I guess it was the show, yeah.
Yeah. So with Cannon, I mean, probably Boone and Erickson also had something similar. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably true. Boone and Erickson did very, very well.
Yeah, a lot of local flavor.
Both really nice guys. I found, to tell you the truth, that almost every guy at that WCCO and back in that era was a very nice guy.
I think you had to be.
You probably had a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
I've heard some. Well, I don't want to get myself in too much trouble here.
No, I want to hear this.
I've heard some less than nice things about Ruth.
I've never heard that. I never met Ruth.
But that was from Cannon. Of course,
never mind.
They had that little problem there.
God, I love Cannon.
Stories.
Spill the tea. I don't know this problem.
I honestly. Well, there's a bit of a sexual harassment type lawsuit there.
Boy, that's hard to believe.
Yikes!
I think it involved a joke.
Oh, it was a joke.
You can't tell a joke
Oh, it was a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke told, a piece of paper that Steve wrote on and moved across the table.
God.
I don't know how much of this is known. Ken and I used to sit in his kitchen, and I don't know,
Yep.
he's gone now. And
Yep.
is Ruth with us?
I haven't heard her name
What's
in a
her
long time.
what's her name?
Kozlak.
Ruth Kozlak.
Didn't I look
Andy.
her up before?
I think you did,
she's,
Andy.
she's alive.
Yeah, well, a note was passed by Steve during an on-air portion
Oh, God.
when Ruth was on the air doing an ad. Steve told me it was for Diamond Head Resort.
Uh-oh.
And I'll just let you
No.
try and guess what the note was.
Head.
And it resulted in some financial payout, I believe. Maybe
Okay.
this is all sealed in some court document, but anyway, I hope everybody's nice at WCCO. But WCCO, is one of those stations where niceness was what they sold. I mean,
Yeah,
God
right,
forbid if
right.
you had some crusty SOB on there. Although Cannon was a crusty
He
SOB.
could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Very entertaining.
Actually,
guy,
you know what? He wasn't a nice guy. He was a nice guy to me.
Me
but,
too.
But to the
Yep.
people he worked with, he was kind of a jerk.
I know. You're right.
God love the man. I truly, truly loved him like a father, actually. But
Yep.
he was ornery
Really?
as hell.
Oh, yeah. There are three guys that Cannon was friends with. It was you, me, and one other guy. Can you remember?
Lynch?
Kind of a friend with
Or
Lynch.
was it the guy, writer for the Star Tribune? I'm blanking on his name. Or was it?
He
I'm
used to be
guessing.
on my show. Writer for the Star Tribune, absolutely. Mike Gelfand.
Oh, Gelfand.
Those
Oh,
guys,
yeah.
they
He
got-
used to tell me about Gelfand. That's right.
Oh,
He was.
That's right.
Because he said the word ornery, you thought of Gelfand?
That's there you
Was
go.
Gelfand Stretch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He'd talk about Stretch. Yeah.
They hung out a lot.
I think he lived over there, didn't he?
He
By
did,
Steve?
Yeah, he did. No question about it. But that one of the things I always look back at, it's wonderful to have people like you in studio. That whole era of radio domination is completely over.
Yeah.
And nobody will know what that felt like. It was
No.
unbelievable.
Actually, no one will know what any real media domination was
That's right.
because it's so splintered now.
Yep.
I don't know if there is in the world right now. Is there any king, a media king, someone who's claiming something in the way of ratings that's just beyond everybody else
don't
that
think
sits
so.
alone?
I don't think, I mean, there are big
No.
podcasts, like Sush has a huge podcast. He does very, very well in his podcast, but I don't think people know that.
Are you talking local? Because I mean, like Joe
Yeah.
Rogan,
He's probably,
He's
doesn't
huge.
he have, did
Mhm.
he hit something like 1 billion?
did
It's,
he?
if he didn't, it's close. I know that.
And don't you wonder, like, how will that end? We talked earlier, everything ends, but will he do something that gets him in trouble? Will that be the demise?
be.
Most likely.
Or will,
Yeah, there
That's
you
how
go.
everything ends.
yeah, I mean, how
Most
will
likely.
it go? I have a hard time picturing it slowly diminishing with him, but maybe it will. Someone else will come along. There's got to be
It'll
like the
happen.
next guy, whoever.
Well, it's
woman.
interesting. I had a friend of mine yesterday. She asked, she had a family member that wants to get into the field of sports broadcasting. And I said, well, that's a tough thing because people that have the big jobs are there for 30 years. They never
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
And you almost have to start in some sort of a YouTube sort of situation and be an expert at some certain thing like the
Yeah.
draft. And you have to have,
Yeah.
because and then you can't broadcast any of the game because of licensing. You have to, it's all it's really hard to get into an industry like that anymore. I don't even know how many people have jobs in that industry.
You and I were talking about something. I don't know. Are
Used
you
to be everybody had a sports reporter. Everybody.
Right, everybody did. Were you a Twins fan or are you a Twins fan?
Yeah.
I never thought we'd get to an era where it would cost so much money to watch television and see the Minnesota Twins. Monday through Friday, they're on MLB. Saturday, they're on,
I think Fox something.
yeah, Fox. And Sunday, they're on Apple TV.
Yeah.
And you have to pay for all three of them. It's unbelievable.
I was thinking about when I last saw you, and I think it was, tell me if this is your memory, you, me, and Ron Rosenbaum doing that
yeah.
show with Scotch.
Yep,
Do you recall this one?
I do.
I think that was the last one. that I did with you. I mean, I had done a few before then, but we were sitting around a table. Was it at the old place on was that First Street? Where were you in downtown Minneapolis? Where was
Yeah,
the
at
last
the
place?
Acme Comedy
Acme
Building.
Comedy Building.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it there? We sat around
I
it.
believe so. Yeah.
It was just the three of us, though.
Mhm.
So was that Ron's show?
No, it was my show. Well, Ron had his
But
own
if
show
it's
there
your show,
too.
you guys would have been here.
No, we didn't. That was
Not
a
all the
different
time.
show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sometimes we're.
One of my, I mean, Rosenbaum, one of the great things about him is every time, and I'm telling you every time, Andy, you can't see me, but I'm looking at you too. Every time I had a guest on who had been imprisoned, he'd come on and go, "Oh, Ron Rosenbaum, how you doing?" It's like all these criminals knew Ron Rosenbaum.
Yeah.
Out from Boston and from New York and his time out there.
Yeah.
I do miss Ron.
Yeah, I do too. It's weird to work with a lot of
Yeah.
people who are gone. Like I have a
Yeah.
lot of producers who are gone already,
Yep.
young guys.
Yep.
And of course, Rosenbaum and his partner from radio, Mark O'Connor.
Oh, O'Connor, yeah.
O'Connell. I forget what it was.
I think it
but
was
also
Chris
died.
O'Connor and Connell. Yeah.
He died, and Barbara's gone. I mean, Vogel's gone. I could just,
God.
it's weird.
It is very, very
What
well.
was Ron's show called? I'm trying to remember.
Holding Court.
Holding
Oh,
Court.
Yeah.
It's called Holding Court. I always liked working with Ron. He was a very,
Well,
very smart
I mean,
guy.
in your particular case, he was actually your guy, right?
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
attorney.
Yeah, he
So you
was,
guys
yeah.
worked with him, and I mean, more than just friends. You had
Mhm.
him. You guys were kind of partners of sorts.
Of sorts. I really, really, after today, I'll miss it more because I didn't realize. I realized I missed it, but not to the point that I've gotten because of you and I became friends because we were both in the same business. Ron Rosenbaum, Joe Souchere. There's still a couple of people who won't be my friends, but that's the way it goes. God.
That refuse?
Oh God, yes.
No.
Royce, he's not a big fan of mine. I don't know what I ever did to him. Oh, he's pretty far political that if you don't believe what he believes politically, he doesn't like
But
it.
I mean, has that manifested itself in some way?
Oh, yeah. Well, he used to come out to our house when we lived out in Dayton on the farm. He and his wife would come over for dinner once in a while or whatever. And all of a sudden it just
Really?
went away. Yeah, it was weird. I used to go golfing with him. What he and I did together on a golf course wasn't really golfing. I gotta be honest with you. I think taking 10 per hole is not really golfing.
He can be a bit irascible. He's kind of.
yeah.
He didn't like me at one point.
Oh, why?
I don't know. He early on at KSTP, he used to take a bunch of shots at me on the air.
Really? That's
Yeah.
what he did to me too.
And
don't know what that was.
I wasn't entirely sure what I had done, but he did not like me for I would say about 4 or 5 years.
Was it
And
political?
then something changed.
Oh,
and
okay.
it switched. But yeah, I used to hear about it and then every now and then catch it on the air and think, uh-oh.
What did I do to
I got
him?
an enemy already. It's weird to have yourself put down over the air
That is very weird.
to listen to that.
I got used to it though.
Well, you gotta.
Over the
I mean, you
years.
gotta get used to
You
it.
do. It's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, we still have you, Souchere. I only see a couple times a year, but I still think the world of him. He's done a hell of a job. And
It's the funniest damn thing. I'm over there now really because of him.
oh, okay, makes sense.
I mean, if he doesn't take off in a big way when they start a podcast for him,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't go over there. The whole thing
Yeah.
is he made it successful, and then they wanted to have other guys. And then they said, okay, Mischke worked at KSTP when Souchere worked at KSTP. Let's ask
right.
Mischke, see if it works. It's like, see if anybody gives a damn about this guy. But they're sort of trying to hitch your wagon to Souchere's star. So
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not on the Hubbard network. I'm on the GL network, Garage Logic.
Oh, Garage Logic, yeah.
And
okay.
Joe's got to
Yeah.
sign off on you. So
Mhm.
you remember we used to call them the nipple chicks. These are the women who had the show. They were the artificial nipple, the
Oh,
saleswomen.
yeah. They worked
Yeah.
at the KS.
They called
90 not
themselves that
KS90.
too. It wasn't just us.
Artificial nipples.
Yeah,
Well, you know, the
they made
person-
a killing off artificial nipples.
They did.
Yeah.
Yes. What?
What are they?
Julie
What's their purpose?
Cobb, Julia
Baby
Cobb,
bottles?
and Lori Barghini.
Yeah.
Is there a purpose to them, or
Yeah, this fascinates me that you wouldn't know the purpose because I definitely didn't get it, but I thought women did. So they sold
no.
artificial nipples that women would wear when they went out to bars and they'd get more attention from
Yep,
guys.
yep.
And it worked like crazy.
That's
You did.
what?
Yeah. And I mean, they were on Oprah, I think, or something. Yeah,
Yes,
it
they
was
were.
huge.
Yep.
So then
Wow.
that's how
And
they
that's-
got their job at FM 107 from their
Mhm.
fame as the nipple chicks.
Women want that kind of attention. Okay.
If they were single and looking for a boyfriend,
ready to
they
mingle?
got.
Not that hard to get male attention in the world.
It
Not
isn't?
that hard. No, it really isn't.
I don't know.
It is not.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't know
Well,
that.
I don't know.
from the right men sometimes, from the wrong men, very easy.
I suppose. We got to take a quick break
Yes.
here. You got hopefully another half hour.
Hell yeah.
Magnificent. It's great having you in studio, by the way.
That's
Tommy
great.
Mischke. They can find your podcast where?
That's the weird thing. You got to put in my name and then those two letters, GL, and then you'll find it.
Oh, then you'll find
Yeah.
it. Okay. But you're going to be on all the Spotify's and all the rest of them.
I'm
aren't
on all that stuff, but
you? Yeah.
I work. I did that podcast on my own for 11 years, and I
Mhm.
don't want people. I hate to say this, but I don't want them to find that one. I want them to find the new one.
Oh, that's
so
true.
that may
Yeah,
be
very good point.
confusing.
Very, very good point.
Because the new one's called Mischke.
Just Mischke. I finally tired of adding words to it.
It saves time.
Broadcast, night show.
Type it a couple thousand times, you'll save a few minutes over your lifetime.
There you
You
go.
know,
You mentioned him already, but he was brilliant when he called his show The Cannon Mess.
That was a great name.
That was a
great name.
It
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah.
I miss hanging out with him. That guy was, what a piece of work that man was.
Yeah. He was a classic, original in every way.
But just very quickly, I got to mention this. He and I, at the very end, didn't get along too well because even though I turned it down, I was offered his job doing afternoons at CCO.
When he was going to leave? Or
he didn't know he was
before?
going to leave yet, I guess.
Oh.
But I turned it down. I said, no, I'm good. He did everything. But he had heard that I was offered his job and he never talked to me again.
That's the Johnny Carson, Joan Rivers deal.
That is. Absolutely.
You got Joan Rivers by him.
Joan Rivers by him, exactly. But God, I do miss that boy. No question about it. We'll be right back in a couple seconds more with Mischke. It is just Mischke. And you want to go to Mischke GL.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's what we'll do. Back to the 50s weekend coming up this weekend, June 20th, 21st, and 22nd. The 51st Minnesota Street Rod Association's Back to the 50s weekend will again fill the Minnesota State Fairgrounds with nearly 10,000 plus street rods. I like the way they wrote that. Nearly 10,000 plus. Well, it's either nearly or it's plus.
Yes.
maybe exactly 10,000.
Maybe it's exactly 10,000. That's what it is. Customs, classics, and restored vehicles, all dating from 1984 or earlier. Friday to I keep thinking it's Thursday today. It's not tomorrow. It's Friday, June 20th through Sunday, June 22nd, Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Minnesota State Fairgrounds in Falcon Heights, Minnesota. The website, MSRA backtothe50s.com. You can check it all out. Advanced adult tickets, $2 off. As a matter of fact, you get them in advance. They're available at participating Napa and auto parts stores and at the door. Adults $15, kids 15 and under, free with each paid deal. So we'll just tell you about the whole weekend to wrap things up here. 200 plus commercial vendors indoors and out throughout the fairgrounds. Ladies Showcase, North End Event Center. That's Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Cruise and Arts, Craft Fair, Education Building, decor gifts, wearables, and more. On Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the Kids World presented by Select Heartland Chevy Dealers, Machinery Hill. That's Friday, June 20th, Saturday, June 21st. Friday and Saturday, by the way, model car show and contest. Then on Sunday, June 22nd, they'll wrap it up. Back to the 50s weekend, the MSRA, Back to the 50s. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also,
Oh, I got to read another live
Yes.
spot. Okay, here we're another live spot. It's Bilski. Let me tell you something about my bank. That'd be North American Banking Company. When it comes to banking, it's all about trust, and that's what you get with them. They've been around since 1998, and they've always made it clear. They're here to give you a better banking experience with a focus on the local community, and you won't be dealing with some AI chatbot. You'll get straight answers and quick decisions from real people that know you and your situation and are always ready to help. So if you're tired of the big national banks and want something better, stop by and see my friends at North American Banking Company. Visit anybanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Tommy Mischke in studio with us. Mischke GL is where you look for him. You can be found everywhere, but he'd prefer if you went that route.
Yeah, one time I saw that they had put me on YouTube, and I was telling people, yeah, I could just go to YouTube, and I got an email saying, hey, we'd like to make some money off this. So what do you mean? Well, a lot of the ads aren't on YouTube that we sell
Oh,
at Hubbard. So I had to shut up about YouTube.
oh, you did.
Here I have just
Oh, yeah.
mentioned it, however. So
That's the
Are
problem.
they monitoring you? Make sure
Yeah,
you're behaving?
I don't know. I'm in this day and age, I'm always worried. Actually, just the fact that you guys have cameras here,
Yeah.
I forget all about that too.
Yeah.
I forget all
yeah.
about. So
Yep.
they wanted me to do the camera thing because they said everybody's doing the camera thing now, and
Yep.
I said no, I don't
You
do that.
have to well, you don't have to if you don't
No,
want to.
well, it could have been a have to. They could have said that's what we do here at Hubbard.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
And I
yeah.
said, I get audio. I said, I've understood audio all my life. I don't understand video. Let's not make me have to think about that. Because that's another thing to think about.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys think about it,
No, it's true.
Yeah.
but you didn't have to before.
Mhm.
Right.
And when you don't have to, it changes things.
Well, it's
You have to-
very.
you have to
it's very-
shower. I mean, it's
Well,
big
actually, I
hassle.
think more in terms of theater of the mind stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
it's
when
good-
you're
pretty
just
much
trying to
gone.
mess with them a little
Yep.
bit. You can't, when they see, there's no
Yeah.
more messing with anybody.
Why do you think it is, Tommy, that this market got to be? I mean, not people wise, obviously, but listenership to the radio in America was by far the biggest in the Twin Cities area.
I've wanted to know the answer to that question. That's
Yeah,
why I asked
yep.
about you and Cannon, because one could have been a fluke, but both of you, why is that? I mean, it's not. I always think of us as not that different from, say, a Seattle. You know,
Yeah,
in
I
terms
understand
of
that. Yep.
what's
cars and houses are warm. That's why.
cars and houses are warm.
So in the winter, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you think about it, what do you do in the winter in Minnesota? Like, if you're one of those people who really likes ice fishing and skiing and that sort of stuff, sure. But I'd say if the majority of people just want to be inside drinking a warm beverage by a fire.
You know, I also found myself wondering if there wasn't a homogenous sort of thing going on to the people here where it was a less diverse world. People were more alike in their tastes.
Mhm.
I mean, they did the
Yeah.
same things. They pursued the same things. They read the same things. Maybe a city, an LA or New York,
Yeah.
just too splintered.
You know, you just brought back a memory I haven't thought about in a long time, talking about being on camera, not being on camera. Most people didn't want to be on camera. And I'll, of course, use a different word, but my first year, 1986 at KQRS, I had been on night times and other places, but that was Catman. And that was a whole different
86
deal.
was your first year?
Yeah.
God, I thought it was even earlier than that.
Well, I was on other places. I started on radio in this market. Well, I was only 19 years old. So, oh my God, 1970.
And he had a hiatus.
Then I had a hiatus. You mean I got fired?
Hiatus.
It's a hiatus because you got fired. But I understand what you're talking about with the whole camera deal. And this is a prime example of, in some ways it's good, but in your way, I agree, it's not that great. Let people make what does Tommy look like? Mischke, what does he look like?
Yeah.
But I mean, you can go online, find a photo, and that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
when I started in radio, I couldn't find a picture of Vogel,
Oh, yeah.
and I
yeah.
went to a live remote to see what he looked like. This was actually before I got into radio, when I was just a listener. I wanted to see what he looked like,
Yeah.
which is weird. I mean, that's kind of almost creepy.
I don't know if it's
But-
creepy.
I did go down and of course, it didn't fit at all what was in my head.
It never
Mhm.
does.
And I had people say to me periodically, which was really disturbing when they'd meet me, "Oh, I thought you'd be shorter and fatter and more bald." And I think that's what I sound like. It was never complimentary. Actually, I've had people say when they meet me, it ruined the show. Now you hear that enough. You don't want cameras
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose that's true.
that's
Why would
true.
it ruin the show, though?
because their theater, their mind
I
of the
suppose-
mind was shot.
It's
I
like when
made
you
up
read
with
a
you.
book and then they make a movie of it and then they
Yeah.
cast people who don't look anything like you were imagining. It can be very difficult to,
To
shift.
get into the movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that too.
Do you know? Let's see if I got this actor right. I'm gonna mess up the name. Harry Dean Stanton.
Harry Dean Stanton, yep.
So I met a guy one
There you
time
go.
who said, "Damn it! I expected you to look like Harry Dean Stanton."
I'm going to look him up.
Well, you kinda.
And it was kind of the night show vibe of he thought he'd be kind
Oh,
of that.
yeah.
I said,
Oh, him,
but
yeah.
and I wasn't at all like that. And the guy said, "Damn, now that messes with it." So after a while, you just say, "Why don't we let radio be radio?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that. But in my case, it was a plus. And I'll tell you, because I grew up in North Minneapolis, went to North High School, the whole deal. I started there in 1986. So, I'm 25 years old, 24 years old at the time. And we were not on camera. But after I started there, was it February or March, Catherine?
I don't know.
I think it was February 15th, 1986. I think it was the
About
first
3 in the
day.
afternoon, I think.
Yes, probably.
Jesus.
I think it's
But-
2:15.
But honest to God, all of February, most of March, and about half of April, we got calls every single day. Get that big N off the air. Because of the raspy voice, they thought I was black.
Well, I had a similar thing.
That's
I had a
true.
similar
Oh,
thing.
good. I'm glad
I
to
was
hear
not
it.
a black guy. I was a Jew.
Oh, you were.
They would say, "Get the Jew off the air."
What?
Yeah, that was my first year. They'd say, "Get the Jew off the air."
Oh, Jesus, unbelievable.
And there was a reason in my case. It was a little weird. It wasn't my
Good
voice.
God.
It was
Oh,
my
God.
dad ran a newspaper in a Jewish neighborhood area of St. Paul
Okay.
that had a large Jewish population, and his name was Maury.
Highland Hills.
Highland Village. Yeah, that in
I love
right.
that. I love that place.
And they determined that he was Jewish. Just based on Maury and running a newspaper
Yeah.
in a Jewish neighborhood, and decided if
Jeez.
I'm his kid, and Mischke's an unusual name, so I must be Jewish. So they found me late at night on the air and organized to get me the hell off the air.
So we both went through it.
God.
We went through a lot of things that we didn't know and we had in common. Oh yeah,
Did you go back on the air and say, all I can say is Oiga Vault?
Vault.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, they would come in and they'd be laughing their ass off. Tom, we just got another 5, 6, 7 calls telling them to get you off the air. But
Ye-
they didn't. They made it very clear why they wanted me off the air.
Yeah, and Vogel used to tell me that there is no way he was going to believe that Willie Murphy, remember Willie Murphy? That he was a
Mhm.
white guy because
Mhm.
Vogel was blind. And he'd listen to him and I'd say, no, I could show you a picture of him, Don, but you're blind. He goes, no, you're bullshitting me. And
Yeah,
but
there
it's
you go.
amazing how much for Don that sort of ruined it. He wanted him to be an
Yeah.
old black blues guy.
Yep.
The white guy.
Yeah.
You know.
I got an interesting fact from a listener here, texted in. Lori and Julia were on the same time slot the Brittany and Kendall show is on right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly
Oh.
right.
Yep, one on My Talk.
Yep, that's when they were on.
Well, wait a minute. How do you guys know Brittany and Kendall?
Well, Brittany
We know
worked here.
Brittany for a million
Yeah,
years.
we've known her
Yeah.
since she was at KQRS before she went in the Army when she was like 19.
Really?
Yep, we've known Brittany forever. And then I don't know the other ones. I don't know. It's a weird situation having known all these. But yeah, when we started this version of the show, Brittany was on the show. When I signed with Hubbard to do my podcast through them, she was. I think she was she doing weekends then, Catherine?
I don't remember.
I don't
know
remember
the
either.
timeline.
Okay.
But she's
But yeah, she was
Yeah.
one of them they put on the show, and then they put a kid on here that hated me, so I got rid of him quickly.
But you wonder if that's still the case over there, that they have a 90% female audience. I mean, the
Mhm.
whole deal when
Yeah.
that station started was, I believe they were going to be the first talk station in America that targeted women. Women typically don't like talk radio.
Yeah, they don't.
Unless it's public radio. But they typically have not liked talk commercial radio.
Yeah, that's understandable. But again, you look at the situation over there; they're very political over there on that show. Not that just
And
show.
My Talk, are
Oh
they?
God! Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Which I'm not
Well,
saying
wait
is
a minute. I
bad
thought
thing.
they were celebrity stuff.
Well, there's a lot of that too, I suppose. I just
Not political in the way they don't have political programs like someone.
no, not really.
No,
I
they just
suppose.
have political opinions and they're, not shy about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a
I-
good way to put it. Yeah, there you go. But everybody I know from over there, I don't know everybody over there, but everybody obviously on Brittany's show and the morning show, very, very nice people. I've gotten along very well. I don't see them very often, but very nice people.
You know, one time Lori and Julia were doing their show and I was doing my show just maybe 20 yards away. The two studios were next to each other.
Right.
And I said, wouldn't it be fun? Obviously, I was on AM and they're on FM. Wouldn't it be fun if I just ran in there and pulled them out of their studio and made them go down to mine? And I did their show. And I did it. I just
Oh,
went
you
in and I
did?
got them. I brought them down the hallway. I stuck them in my chair and another chair where the guest would sit. And then I went into there. And what happened was my guys kind of liked it. My guys, hey, Laura and Julia are on this kind of go. their female listeners hated my appearance there, and that didn't go over well at all. And the whole idea actually got me in a lot of trouble, and it's not something I'll try again. But I thought it'd be kind of fun.
That's kind of your deal, though. That's good.
My thing used to be what hasn't been done.
That's
my
correct.
thing used to be what hasn't been
Very
done. Let's
true.
do that.
That's getting
Very
harder
true.
and harder.
Oh,
to
it's
come
getting
up
harder
with.
and harder. I think I'm
Boy.
out of ideas.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
what
many
what
things.
what were they complaining about during actual biblical times? There's nothing new under the sun. So I mean,
Yeah, there
Right.
you go.
that was 2,000 years ago. There's even less
thousand.
new under the sun now.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, one time I wanted to try seeing if I could do the whole show without saying anything, and
Ooh,
I
that's
pulled that
difficult.
off for 2 hours.
Did you really?
Yeah, at night, and Stanley Hubbard was listening.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Hubbard caught it,
Uh-oh.
and he, I believe, called my boss, Ginny, his daughter, and said, "What's up with Mischke?" And I think she went to the
Laryngitis.
radio. She went to the radio, turned it on, heard nobody, and to her credit, said something to her father like, "He's different." You know,
Well, I will tell you my experience with Jenny. She really understands people like you, me, Sue Sheree. You wouldn't think, somebody from a family like that would,
Well, she's been in the business for her
Yeah.
whole life, right?
but I mean, she likes people, particularly guys who are not just the same right down the middle of the road type of guy.
Mm.
She likes like Mischke, and she likes me. I've known her forever.
yeah, I mean, being in the business a long time doesn't necessarily mean you're going to like talent. It could go the
No,
other way.
yeah.
And
Yep.
one thing she was always amazing at, anybody who worked for her afterward, and often after getting fired, me included, I was fired by.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I was fired. And
Yeah,
but I went out with her for a meal after that. We had a great time. So I mean,
Mhm.
it's kind of you still say wonderful things about her because you have to admit that she was good to you. And when you got fired, if it wasn't for that time, you probably should have been fired about 6 or 7 times before that. In my
Possibly.
case, possibly 100. Seriously, 100 times I could have been fired for violating station rules.
Really?
Over 100.
Like
Yeah.
like what kind of rule?
Picking up the phone, calling somebody, putting them on the air without telling them they're on the air.
Wow.
572 times minimum. I did that.
Well,
Uh,
it's pretty
Showing
sorry.
up at the station 7 minutes after your show's already started,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
having to start it on your cell phone, and I could go on and on and
But
on.
I mean, if
That's
somebody
fine.
calls into a radio station, isn't it an assumption that they're going to be on the air? Perhaps
You cannot call someone, have their voicemail answer, and air that
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
without
that
violating
kind of
the
makes sense.
yeah,
I
FCC. Yeah.
guess.
Jesus.
Good Lord.
I didn't. I will tell you, I'm glad you brought them up because my time there when I started 1970 doing nights at 1500 KSTP and all the rest of it. What are you hitting the road?
I got yoga class.
Apparently,
We only got
Everybody,
about 10 minutes
it's a
left.
little worrisome when I come in and
And then
one by
everybody
one
leaves.
people are leaving.
There's reasons for it. That's not.
Okay. By the way, I have to apologize because I'm so out of the game here and out of the loop that I walk in and Andy says, "Yeah, walk on in." And I'm thinking your show's starting at 11. I'm a few minutes early. And I come in and start yakking. And you guys are in the middle of the show. And it took me at least 2 minutes to figure that out.
Well, that's how that's how it is at home. So we try to make that same here. I don't
some
like
show's
that.
been that way forever.
Yeah, it has. That finely tuned. You have to do this. I don't like that. Just
No, we
float
actually
around.
we used to have a segment.
I'll see you. Are you going to be home when I get home? You're not.
Maybe.
Tom,
Yes,
don't,
this is
don't
exactly
you
what I'm
leave
talking
now.
about.
Don't you leave
we've only
because
got
it's
10 minutes
lonely.
left. We
Lonely
will,
here in this room.
we will all leave
Bye-bye.
at quarter
Great
to
seeing
12.
you.
Yeah, our show used to be 2 hours long. It actually used to be 3 hours long
Yeah.
briefly, but that was a little much.
When there was a morning show.
We did a 2-hour show with like a 10-minute break in between. And what I would do is I would just leave the cameras and mics open during the break because people liked to just listen to what we were chatting about.
Yeah.
Because we were all aware that the mics were on and everything. And we just talked, and people really liked that behind the scenes feel. But the problem is people would come in and they would be on their 5,000th appearance on our show. And then for some reason, they would just forget how it worked and start like giving out phone numbers.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that was
Yeah, that didn't work too
unfortunately
well.
I had to put an end to that.
Well, it's so bizarre because, here's the long table. You're
Mm-hmm.
at the same end of it you used to be. We were at
Mhm.
a different place the last time I was here.
Itasca building, probably.
Itasca building,
And
When
it's
were
been,
you? Do you
it's
remember?
been a decade. It's been a decade.
Is it
Easy.
really?
So
easy.
yes, that would have been the Itasca building.
And it's so weird, the passing of time, because on one level, nothing's changed. I mean, I'm sitting
Right,
here. This
right.
is more or less the seat I had when I was on your
The
show
microphone
last
you're
time.
talking into very well may be the same microphone you
Yeah.
talked into 10 years ago.
And you just go, where the hell did 10 years go?
I know.
Yeah.
What
That is
the
the deal.
hell?
I know exactly what you're saying. It's
10 years from now, I'm figuring I'm gone.
How old are you?
63.
You're not going to be gone at
Rather-
73.
My
Rather
old, man,
pessimistic.
my old man was gone at 70, so you always use that as your marker.
Well,
you
my
figure.
dad died at 60, so that's not good.
No.
You got him beat.
I mean, that's what you do. If you live past your dad's age, you feel a little bit like you like it's gravy time a little bit, because
Depends, yeah.
you know, I mean, because you figure DNA or whatever. I don't know. I
don't
just
know.
figure his heart stopped, mine will stop.
My grandparents all lived to be 1 trillion years old, so
Oh,
I've got
okay.
that
Well,
going
except
for me.
my dad didn't.
Well,
he was
but
like 60.
he kind of helped the Reaper along.
Well, he certainly did, no question. Yeah, that's one thing about radio that really helped me out in doing podcasts now. Also, my father was paranoid schizophrenic, and dealing with that was a bitch. And I get on the radio and talk about it. It feels really nice to be able to talk about that, you know?
You know, it's funny, if you're sitting in a psychologist's office and you have depression, they have their job cut out for them, and you have your job cut out for you. If you're sitting in your psychologist's office and you have bipolar, they really have their job cut out for them,
Yep.
and you have a long haul ahead of you. You sit in a therapist's office with what your old man had, and it's
Oh.
kind of, buddy, we're out of ideas.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, that is a bitch. Yeah.
And they hauled him out of the house in a straitjacket. I'll never forget that. I was 7 years old.
Every time I learn of certain illnesses like
Mhm.
this, or even physical illnesses that are particularly harsh, I think, you know, who set this game up? I mean,
know,
some of this
yeah,
stuff is pretty
yeah.
twisted. Okay, give them a little affliction, but what is with that one?
It is big time. There's no question.
And
about
where's it come from? Do they know what causes it or where it comes from?
Some say it came from severe physical abuse, which was my father's deal.
Okay.
His father was the biggest prick I've ever met. Actually, my
But think
mother's-
about that. Think about that for a moment. So you're already losing the lottery by getting a father who's beating the shit out of you.
Exactly.
And then as a way, but we'll compensate by giving you this even more horrific mental illness. What the?
They said, I was told, and this was many, many years ago now, because my father was a brilliant man too. He was very, very smart, really a smart guy. They said, well, you get a really smart guy and get beaten on constantly, they have no chance of making it.
Right.
None.
Right.
So, you know, that's, it was something to look. I mean, at one time I think I was probably 5 years old, and I woke up and I had to go downstairs to pee. And I went downstairs and I went to the kitchen because I figured, well, you know, I had a little sip of water after that and blah, blah, blah. So I went in the kitchen. The whole house is dark. I open up the refrigerator and my dad is sitting about where you are, staring, but he's not staring at me. It was like, whoa.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
never
eerie.
forget. Oh, it was
Yeah.
eerie. No
Yeah.
doubt about that. But what that did for me and people, I don't think.
It's fuck you up.
Yeah, well, there is that. That's part of it, no question about it. But because of that, I have fear of no one, because they
Yeah.
could never do to me. And
Right.
he didn't mean to do it.
Yeah.
He didn't even know I was there, as a matter of fact. But
Right.
I can never be scared by anybody, because that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
at 5 years old, I thought he could see me.
Oh, that's like something out of a horror film.
It certainly is. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about that. It's
Yeah.
true.
I had a weird feeling you were going to say there was going to be something creepy in the fridge. I was even going more
No,
horror
no.
film. It's a human head.
Well, that could have
Yeah.
happened too if we carried on. No, sometimes I should probably. Everybody's asked me to write a book because, you know, my father's situations. 3 of my uncles were murdered.
Yeah, you
know,
should have.
I probably
mean,
should have. Yeah.
or you still can, but I mean, it's a combination of two things. One, I think it'd be interesting, and two, I think you'd get a lot out of it.
I would get a lot out of
Yeah.
it. Yes, no question about
Yeah.
that. But it's the one thing about social media. We got to take a break here in a second and wrap things up. But the one thing about social media that really used to bug me, and now I'm just more tolerant. Stop being a tough guy on social media. I mean, You might be a tough guy in your neighborhood. You would never even, well, the Sonny Barger, the president.
yeah.
Everybody's a tough guy until they meet a tough guy.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And he was
Yeah.
absolutely right about that.
Right.
It's like, don't be tough with me on social media. It's like,
Right.
what, you effer, you. Oh, okay,
Right.
whatever.
It's always going to be a facade anyway,
It is,
hiding
yes.
something.
Yep.
The more secure you are, the less you got to put it out there that you're a tough guy. You just
There's no
you know.
question about that. All right, we'll take a quick break, come back and wrap things up. I tell you, you got to come back more often. We got deep into stuff.
Yeah, well, we always do. I think
We always
more
do.
or less.
You and I always
Yeah.
get into very
Yeah.
deep conversations when we have them. But, you know, maybe you should come back soon again and talk about how you grew up. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I don't quite have as harsh a story
that's
as yours,
good.
but
a
it
good
was
thing.
rough in
Yeah,
its
it
own
was.
way.
Yes, it was. I remember talking to you about
Yeah.
that. But so if we can get you on the docket again, that'd be magnificent. We'll be back in just 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening. You listen to me. Your customers are listening to me, and they'll hear me promote your business. The Tom Bernard Podcast attracts thousands of listeners who are loyal, engaged, and ready to support businesses they trust. Our podcast has helped numerous businesses increase traffic, sales, and brand recognition. We're not just about ads. We're about results. Whether you're a local business or a national brand, we offer custom advertising packages designed to fit your unique needs and goals. Our audience spans multiple demographics, allowing you to target your ideal customers with precision, from millennials to baby boomers and everyone in between. With the broad reach of the show and passionate following, your business will see increased visibility and awareness, translating into more customers and sales. We are back. You got 5-6 more minutes?
Sure.
Or you got to get going.
No, I got.
What time of day do you do your show?
I'll go from here over to do it. I'm going to start doing it twice a week. I know you do it every day. It's every day, right?
Yeah.
And so you're not going to have any sympathy for me on this, but it's been a long time since I was doing a daily show. And when you get out of the habit of it, like right now, to be perfectly honest, I don't even know how I did the show every day right now. Because a lot of times there wouldn't be any callers and it'd be me alone. And the minutes go by like hours. And you got to do it again. Every day you start over. But I was young and I had the energy to do it. But the best I'm able to do for Hubbard's, they've asked me to do a second show a week. And I'm going to do that. But if I told you what my week was like that's going to be a crazy number of hours for me. And I'd have to explain to you why it is, because the way I work on a show is different. And I'm alone, you know, so it's a different deal. But I'm going to start doing it starting in July, twice a week.
Excellent.
So
you have the days picked already?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Wednesday and Friday. The idea being you get up Monday, work a couple days to put out one, work a couple days to put out two.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up because after all these years, I've been on the KQ Morning Show for what, 2.5 years now, Andy? Is that about right?
Yeah, I think almost exactly.
But exactly what you're talking about. Every morning still to this day, 2.5 years later, when I wake up, I go, oh God, I got to do 4.5 hours on the air. It's still in here and it's never going away.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. That morning show, 4.5 hour morning show is a long morning show.
Yeah, I can't even fathom that. I will say I envy guys who have people to talk to. I'll tell you why I didn't have people to talk to. I don't get along with people very well. I mean, I hate to say it, but Vogel and I had a miserable breakup, and after that, I just said, I'm never working with anybody again in a creative endeavor. Like if it was on an assembly line, that's one thing, that's easy enough. But if it's what are we going to do today, and creatively and coming up with stuff and doing that every day, two clashing minds, it just didn't work for me. So I had to just sit alone in a room the rest of my career. So that's what I did after Vogel.
It's kind of a tough haul over at Hubbard because there have been a lot of guys on, KS95 lost their afternoon guy, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet.
I watched 27 on-air people get fired during my time there, and I just sat around just waiting for my turn. I just figured, that's what you do in radio. You get fired.
Yeah.
And it is what you do in radio. I mean,
it's true.
You get fired.
Then you tune in, and I'm doing this right now. Full disclosure. I'm saying this honestly, whatever. I tune into the radio now and go, this is the best you got.
I don't even listen to radio anymore.
Most people don't.
I don't. I mean, fortunately, there is the ability to find a podcast that you like, that you enjoy. Another thing with, like, if I were to tune into WCCO right now, the commercials would just drive me mad. They're just inundated with way more than podcast allows.
I think the radio rule of thumb these days is like 40, 60 commercials to content.
Good God.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, it's so weird when you go, like when I got over at Hubbard, they said, "Oh no, we only have 3 ads per break." And I said, "Boy, they don't talk that way in radio. Why is that?" "Well, people would never tolerate more than that in podcasting."
They wouldn't.
Well, why the hell do they tolerate it in radio?
They don't. That's why they're not listening. That's a big reason anyway.
It's really unfortunate because radio is everything to you. It's everything to me. Podcasting, I'm really, really enjoying. Spend a lot of time with my family, which I love. All the rest of it. But it's tough. And local TV broadcasting is just over too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on in that world.
Sad.
But on the podcasting thing, the one thing that is unfortunate, and I think you'd agree with this, is there's no more magical moments where someone stumbles upon you. You know, they're driving across Missouri or something. Yep. What's this coming in from up north or something? I mean, those were beautiful moments. Sometimes we'd get calls from people who had no idea what the game was that we were playing with, not always being serious, and all the fun we could have with them on a winter night when the signal was blasting, you know, and someone would call in from some faraway port. You just don't have those magical moments in podcasting. And of course, the callers.
Oh, the callers are huge.
Do you know what I ended up doing with my current podcast? I so wanted the caller experience back. Now, keep in mind, unlike you, I didn't have the crew to talk to, which helps. Right. Yep. But I didn't have that. So I go, I want to get that caller thing back. So now I call the listeners. I've amassed a 375 and counting caller list.
That's a great idea.
People who have contacted me and said, yeah, you can give me a ring. And now, so there's only that 2 seconds of who called who that is any different. And otherwise, what people hear is the conversation with a listener.
Exactly.
Who cares where it came from, who dialed it? And so I brought that back, and that has saved me because now I have that interaction I used to have.
That's wonderful. I'm glad that that was a brilliant move. You're not going to come to me, then I'm going to come to you.
Right.
And it's going to sound like you came to me.
Yeah, it's just going to happen. And
idea.
I don't tell them ahead of time I'm calling. So if they don't answer, they don't answer.
Yeah.
And if they answer, oh, hey, whoa, Mischke, you catch me, I'm driving home from work. You know, hey, great. Yeah.
Well, you got to come back in.
Do you do your show live?
No, I don't do it live. So then 2 days later that airs. But
do you, I mean, you could do it live if you wanted, right?
You know, when I don't know if you guys know this, but when I got fired from KSTP, there was a 1-year no compete. And then I went to CCO. And during that 1 year, City Pages hired me to do a podcast there. It's spring of 2009. Not a lot of people doing podcasts. But I did it live every day, 2 hours every day live with nobody to talk to and no calls.
Oh, God.
I'm sitting,
that's tough.
And I did it live. And when we look at the numbers, I just say 99.9% of people listen to it after the fact. Why are we doing it for the 1/10 of 1% who want to do it live? It was a waste of time because no one cared.
Yeah, from the very beginning, our show has been 90% downloads.
Yeah, so
but I mean, we still get, there's a decent amount of people. I'm in a chat room right now with a bunch of listeners who are always there. I'm getting texts and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so then it's paying off.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't do it live, because it just when someone comes up to you and says, well, the vast majority of people aren't going to do it. The vast majority are what I'm looking to please. So I just say, okay, well, if that's not what you want, we'll do.
Well, I can see doing a one-man show with, there's going to be a lot of pausing and, that sort of thing, I imagine.
Live is obviously great. I mean, the high wire act of live radio was that anything could happen.
Yes.
Could happen, including horrible things, which people love to watch Evel Knievel crash. Some people went to see him make it. Most came to see him crash. And people loved it on a live show when it all went to hell for me. When something went wrong, when a guest didn't show up and I was tap dancing, they loved it.
Well, the funny thing is about our show is that we don't edit it at all. I top and tail it. That's it. So even if a bunch of crap goes wrong, that's going to end up in the final product anyway.
Yeah,
because that's kind of like our brand, I guess you could say.
Right. That makes sense. I see why that's appealing.
You brought back a magnificent a point or something in my brain moved. In any case, you were talking about, the people who went to see Evil Knievel and
Yeah.
this guy and that guy and all the rest of it. I will never, ever forget getting a call on the KQ morning show because I was talking about this thing on the air, what had happened. And then the woman actually called into the show, and she wasn't from Minnesota. She's from somewhere else. I don't even know where. And I said, "You are the one who had that huge sign." She goes, "Yeah, that was me." She was holding up a huge sign on live TV that said, "Show your tits for evil."
Was this during one of his jumps?
Yes, absolutely. It was one of his jumps. So this huge sign, "Show your tits for evil." I was like, okay.
Yeah, and Evil got plenty of that action in his
Oh,
life.
he
Oh,
definitely
my
did.
Lord. I used to actually laugh at the way his life ended. Do you know how he wrapped it up at the end?
I
He
used to know
found
that.
Jesus in the
Oh,
last
did
14
he?
seconds before he
Oh,
died.
I didn't know that. I
and
did not
figured
know
that makes up for all of it.
And I did not know until I saw the movie about his life that it was a jailer that gave him that name.
Yeah, Awful Knaufel and Evil Knievel.
Awful Knaufel and Evil Knievel.
I used to live in
exactly.
Butte, Montana.
Oh, you did?
And he was
Okay.
living in Butte, Montana.
Yes.
And I'd go down to Jerry's Corner Bar at 10 in the morning, and he'd be the lone guy sitting at the bar with whiskey at 10 a.m. And
Oh.
I'd sit next to him just because I could. You could
Yeah.
walk in, anybody could. You walk
Yeah.
into the bar, but I'd see his fancy sports car outside the bar
Yeah.
at 10 a.m. and I'd go in and sit there. And he had already kind of been famous, and this was kind of the end, more toward the end, not before he found Jesus, but post jumping.
Yeah.
And he was just hanging out there drinking. That's what he did in Butte. But the first thing he ever said to me, he turned to me. I was too shy to say anything to him. I just pulled up a seat next to him, ordered a beer, and he turned to me and he goes, "People say those electric razors can't cut you. That's bullshit."
See, isn't that
Sage
a great
wisdom
life?
from
Tommy,
Evil himself.
That is a very good point to end on. That's what life really is all about. Those electric razors, all horse shit. Cut the shit out. I love moments like that.
Yeah,
Well, come back soon.
I will. Yeah.
You have to.
All
I'd
right.
love to have you back on.
This
Andy,
was great.
Oh, it was a great pleasure for the whole family, believe me. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Every time I hear the singing reminds me how you talking